Alright, what's up guys? I know it's been a couple days since I made a video, and I mean, I'm sure you can guess the reason for that. I really haven't been enjoying the game very much right now, and I'm sure if any of you are fighter players, you can kind of understand why. The meta for fighters hasn't been very good, hasn't been very fun. I mean, I've been playing the game, but I've just been kind of playing casually, just chilling in some ruins with friends, you know, like low roller crypts, leveling characters, that type of thing. But I thought it was time for me to make another video, and there will be one right after this too that's a bit different. I'm sure you guys will enjoy that one nonetheless. This video, however, as I'm sure you can see on the screen, is about patch notes and into a tier list, because I haven't done a tier list in a while and the game's changed a bit. So the patch notes are pretty short. I mean, there was last patch notes too, and I'll mention those slightly. But this patch notes, the biggest thing I think, obviously, is these two things you see right here. Characters level 14 under will be placed in a separate matching pool. If any member of a party is level 15 or above, the entire party will be placed in level 15 plus matching pool. This is very, very good for new players coming into the game, or players that are like, you know, just starting or trying to level up another character. Because one of the big issues with the games right now is in normals and low rollers, there's a lot of really geared people running around that are just kind of like dominating. They're literally in like purple legendary plus gear, like gear that you should be in high rollers with, but they're not. They're in normals. So this is really, really good for like the new players and level up new characters, because you're obviously not going to run into that. And also because all those like under 15 players are, you know, in their own pool, those players that are super geared are more likely to run into each other, which means potentially they're more likely to go high rollers, because I mean, they're already fighting these super geared teams, you know, why not? I think that's a chance, no guarantee. We'll see how it goes. And the other one, level requirement to sign up for the trading post has been increased from level 10 to 15. Now this I don't get. I don't like it. I think this is stupid. I mean, they're saying I mean, at the bottom they say it's like, oh, like we've decided to try out a separate matching pool for players in 15 to give them a little more time to learn and adjust the game prior to engaging with the trading post. And then they're upping the trading post level to sync with this new matchmaking system. Like, that doesn't make any sense though. Like, how? Like, I mean, I guess it's so like players that are under level 15 can't buy really good gear and go in with it. I mean, like, yeah, I guess that's true, but that's still kind of stupid in my opinion. You know, it's like, what's the point? Like, why? But, you know, I mean, it's just gonna take longer to be able to trade stuff. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Doesn't really affect me much. I think I'm just kind of talking from perspective of other people. Fix an issue where the Dark Swarm circle would mostly enter the center region of the map. I don't think even. I don't even think. I think this is only in like normals, or not normals. This is only either in like the first floor, because for the most part, I don't see this happening in Inferno or Hell very often. I mean, maybe it does. I'm just assuming, because obviously in Hell it can't end on the boss room, and the boss room takes up the entirety of the middle part of the map. So maybe that's why I don't see it in Hell that often. But this could be cool. It could lead for a lot more variety in fights towards your end game, and it's going to be significantly harder to control a zone from earlier in the game if there's much more randomness to where it's going, rather than just be like you take over the Wraith Skeleton champion room in the middle of first floor crypts with all the chests and everything in it. You take over that, and you kind of sit that room the whole game, because you know the circle's pretty much always going to come to you. So, you know, that's pretty cool. Much more variety in the fights. Now this I hate. This, right, obviously, I mean, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. This, like, why? We just did, like, we just nerfed them. Why are we buffing them again? Like, they weren't even bad. They were still good. They were OP. Why we do it? Wizards' invisibility duration has been increased from 3 to 4 seconds. Wizards' haste duration has been increased from 6 to 8 seconds. But, like, why, though? Like, we just nerfed this shit because we knew it was an issue. Why are we buffing it again? Yeah, it's not buffed back to where it was, but it's still fucking buffed. So why? Like, we didn't even give it a week. We gave it 2 damn days before we started buffing Wizards again, man. Fighters have been bad for like 3 weeks. Give or take, I don't know exactly. But we've been bad for like 3 weeks. We ain't got any buffs. Wizards get slightly nerfed for 2 days, are still the best characters in the game, and immediately are getting buffed back. What's up with that, Iron Mace? Why? Why we doing that? I don't get it. I mean, I wouldn't have did it personally. Like, and we don't even get any other nerfs in this patch for them. Like, their damage is still ridiculous. Chain Lightning still 2 shots teams. It still chains through walls. Like, I just don't get it. Fireball still two-shotting people with a splash damage. Zap still three-shotting people. But why though? All right. Add an option to control whether items in the following utility slots are automatically placed in your hand after item is used. I was saying they needed this, and I don't know if I said it in any video, but I have been talking about it on my stream, saying this should be an option. So basically, a couple patches ago, they made it so if you use a consumable or like a utility in your slot, it'll automatically swap to the next one. This is really good for throwables. However, the issue with this is for everything else is like if you drink a potion, it will immediately pull out another potion, so you get slowed down significantly more rather than if it would just take the potion and like if you use it and then it pulls your hands out because you have no movement speed penalty for your hands. So this is really nice for a lot of people that aren't using throwables because you're not going to have that movement speed penalty when you're trying to use these for immediately swapping to another. So that's pretty cool. You know, I mean, it's a good change. Definitely a needed one. Definitely a needed one. Because the system itself, like where you could automatically swap to the next one, is cool. But it's only cool if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, it's really just like it's just tedious and it slows you down too much. And this is funny. We've realized we may have gone too far with the recent nerfs to wizard spells and have slightly increased the duration of haste and invisibility spells. No, you haven't. No, you didn't. You didn't go far enough. See, that's the thing is invisibility and haste isn't even why wizard itself is broken. That's part of the reason like buff ball with barbarian was broken, but that's not why wizard's broken. I don't think they understand that. Like they very clearly seem to be missing out on the fact that wizard isn't broken itself because it can buff itself. It's broken because every spell in its arsenal two-shots people outside of like magic missile, but who cares? That's a PvE spell basically. And they said the Bard rework and more significant class balance changes are still planned for a future update. We don't know when this future update is. Could be soon. Could be very far away. Hopefully it's soon. I mean, I would very much like to see Wizard getting nerfed. They said significant class balance changes. I assume we're going to get, like, you know, if I had to guess, I'd say what? Wizard, Fighter, Rogue. I think those are probably the three best ones, not including Warlock. If they finish Warlock, obviously Warlock would be. But I think Wizard, Fighter, Rogue are the three classes that are in a really weird spot where they're either incredibly OP or awful. Like there's no in between. And even Rogue, when it's awful, is still like a character that can just insta one-shot most characters. Like right now, like Rogue isn't even considered a good class right now, but it still has potential to literally just one-shot over half the cast in the game. So it's like I definitely think Rogue needs to be reworked and have some definitely giant changes to it. But anyways, that has been the patch. So now we're going to do the tier list. And I'm going to do it in the same fashion I always have. If you've not seen any of my tier list videos before, since obviously I only have one copy, what I would do is like this right here to say this comp is very good. And then, you know, and then I will bring it back. So if you want to like pay attention for, you want to know, just like pause and screenshot or something, man. I don't know. It's the best I got for you. All right. Now, I don't think any comps are, I mean, actually, I don't know. After that balance, it's hard to say. I don't think any comps are all the way up here and like please nerf anymore. Like I think last patch, obviously this was the guaranteed one. Like this comp was like heads above every other comp in the game, incredibly broken, very little counterplay to it. And if you did have counterplay, it was very, very specific. It was like a ranger trapping doors, a cleric earthquaking. And even then, that was just kind of like a deterrent that didn't beat them in a fight. It was just like, hey, you can't push us now, not like we killed you guys. But I don't think any comp's up here anymore. I think this comp is still very good, just to start off with. I think this comp is still very good. Unironically, the Wizard and Bard nerfs aren't even why this comp isn't that good, or has fallen. It's the Barb nerfs. Not Achilles. The main nerf is the Horseman's nerf. Horseman's is swinging much, much slower now than it was previously, and that is such a giant drop-off for Bard's damage. However, the reason I'm keeping it up here is because of Warmaul. I think Warmaul is still insane, and I think it's still the most amazing weapon they can use this comp. The movement speed cap does hurt slightly, but if you're using Warmaul, you were already going to fall below that cap anyways. Like, you weren't running at 150% speed with the Warmaul out. You were going to run at like 120, which is pretty much where the cap is. So I still think this comp's insane. Then another comp, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do not, personally, in my personal opinion, this comp is not this good. I do not think it's as good. However, there are a lot of people running it, and a lot of people seem to think it's very, very good. So for that reason, I will put it up here. But like I said, personally, I do not think it's that good. I think it is counterplay. And I think this comp is entirely reliant on your ranger being insane. If your ranger is not insane, this comp will literally fall apart. It is cleric, Fighter, and Ranger. This is, obviously, it's not even a new comp. It's a very old comp that's been played very, very many times. It's just, classic frontline, support for frontline, solid DPS. Just, very cookie cutter comp. The reason this comp's very good is because you can do things like Cleric and Earthquake on an engage. Ranger can pelt them with arrows. Fighter kind of just holds down the front line. Very, very straightforward. There's not much like hidden here. Not really any really crazy strategies with this comp. It's a very, very straightforward comp. It's super easy to play if you could play the characters. But like I said, this is very, 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 very important for this Ranger to be good. Because if the Ranger's not good, then a Wizard will eat this comp alive. And the one reason I think this isn't good is because if you look at buff ball, like let's say you compare this right here, right? Like you compare this buff ball comp. Obviously this isn't the actual rating. I'm just putting here to compare. If you compare this, if a Barb rushes at this team and gets the Wizard chain lightnings off the Barb, like what do? The fight's over. Like your team's dead. Fighter dies in 2, Ranger dies in 2, Cleric dies in 3, maybe. I mean, Clerics usually have a lot of MR, have a lot of will, but it's usually like that. So your only real play here is you have to Earthquake on their engage in a spot where the Ranger can kill the Barb or the Wizard in time. That is the best counterplay, and that's why I say it's very, very important for your Ranger to be very, very good in this team comp. All right, and other than this, another comp that is very, very good, I wish I had a second one, is Cleric Ranger. It makes me mad that I can't like duplicate these or anything. You can't like right now. It's Cleric Ranger. Here we go. It is Cleric Ranger. It sounds stupid, but this comp is very, very good. Very, very good. Ranger right now is one of the best characters in the game if you can play it correctly. I think it. I mean, if you looked at my old list, I think Ranger was one of the best characters in the game last patch and the patch before that, because Ranger is this character doesn't get countered by anything. Fighter doesn't counter it because it has Pen Shot. And Pen Shot literally makes you hit fighters. If you're really geared, you could shoot fighters for, 30 to 40% of their health bar with a headshot, which is insane. Not to mention, the Cleric can provide support with Earthquake for these double Rangers, so no one can effectively push them. Their only real counter to this is either a Rogue being able to sneak around to them, or a Wizard. Not a Wizard, my bad. Or another Ranger that's really, really good. But that Ranger's fighting 1v2. So it's like, what are the odds he's really going to win? And I mean, other than obviously the buff ball, it gets farmed by this comp because Barbs will just insta-die to geared Rangers. Like, pretty much everybody on this cast will die to Rangers. It's crazy to me that people have not thought this character's really good up until now. People are like, oh, you can't kill Barbs fast enough. Well, yeah, because you're not playing the character correctly. People do not want to play Ranger right, and it really makes me mad. Because this character's not supposed to run around the map. You are not supposed to be sprinting around the map farming kills of this character. This character is supposed to take a strategic point and set up with their traps and hold the room so people can't push you. Ranger is one of the hardest characters in the game to push when they have an advantageous point for them, because you have to go through bear traps, you have to get to them which you're being shot at with arrows, which the only class that can really do that's Fighter by blocking them. And let's say they're playing with a Cleric, you have to try to make it through an Earthquake with Rangers shooting you. And if you have 2 Rangers shooting you, they're shooting you from different angles, so you can't effectively block both of them even if you have a shield. Pavise, yes, but Pavise is troll. Honestly, I've thought about it. If you fight this comp and you have a Pavise, this comp literally gets farmed. The only downside is Cleric can actually hurt you with Holy Strike, and they can shoot the people behind you. That's one reason Pavise isn't very good. Pavise would block yourself, but it can't block anyone behind you. I mean, they can try to turtle behind you, but it doesn't really work. Oh, excuse me. Oh, all right. But anyways, another comp that I think is very, very good still is Bard, Wizard, and Cleric. I think this is a very strong comp. I think, okay, so the big nerf Bard got was its Tranquility and its Clarity. They can no longer, they don't proc anymore unless you're resting, so you can't just give your team Clarity while they're walking around. Honestly, I'm going to move this comp down a little bit. I don't think this comp's quite S tier. So the Clarity and Tranquility only works if you're resting, so you can't get spells restored and HP restored if you're just running around the map, which is very, very big. It limits 10 spell slot Wizard. It doesn't remove it. It limits it. So now you have to chug your Clarity potions much, much more, and sometimes there will be downtime for your team fights. You actually have to consider what you're doing in a fight, because let's say you're running 10 spell slot. You're going to have about 23 spells if you consider 5 zaps, 5 ice bolts, 5 fireballs, 5 probably not lightning strikes. I mean, some people use lightning strike. let's say lightning strike, and then like chain lightning, right? For that, if I'm forgetting something, magic missile. Magic missile's not PvP. Magic missile's PvE. So we're not even gonna count that. Honestly, no, we're gonna count magic missile, take lightning strike out, chain lightning, 23, boom, just like that. So let's say you run through most of your spells in a fight. To get them back, you either have to use clarities, which I mean, you obviously you already are, or you have to rest with your Bard Song. Before, you were constantly regening them all throughout the fight with the Bard Song, so even if you got third party immediately after your fight, most of your spells were either already back or you never really lost them to begin with. Because low cost spells like Zap pretty much regenerate instantly. Like whether like you know it's even if like low like even with like the low regen rate from like Core Out of Clarity from Bard. And Cleric, you know, it's just solid frontline here. Earthquake once again has amazing utility. Earthquake's one of the best spells in the entire game, just because of how anti-push it is. Prevents it really, really, really good against fighters in particular, because it's magic damage, and fighters obviously do not like magic damage. So if you get caught in it, if you get caught in an Earthquake as a fighter, your only chance is to literally sit there and hold up your shield and just hope you don't die. If there's a wizard throwing spells at you the entire time, it's very hard to live. The only way you really do is if you have a cleric healing you. And another variation of this comp that I think is very good, that I think is actually a little bit better, is this one. Ranger, Wizard, Cleric. I think this comp is very, very, very strong. Very, very, very strong. So in this comp, it's much harder to run 10 spell slot. It is possible, but obviously you don't have the Bard helping you, so it's really, like, you're going to have much more downtime where you have to use your clarities and stuff. So, you know, and potentially even rest too. So it's much harder to run 10 spell slot. Not impossible, just harder. And this comp, it kind of, I think this comp was, this is one of the comps I had high rated, like on my last tier list. This comp just kind of, you know, it covers all bases. Ranger can deal with like any, Ranger can deal with pretty much any squishy. Wizard deals with anything that Ranger doesn't like dealing with. Like even, like, so they don't, Ranger doesn't have to run a pen shot for fighter, because Wizard could deal with it. Cleric can provide a nice stable front line. If they go plate armor, it can actually be very, very tanky. Easily hitting 70% plus PDR, just the way same fighters can. And you're providing heals and utility for your team. So this is a very, very strong comp. So now I'm going to talk about some of the things I think are kind of bad this patch. Obviously, these are like the worst characters this patch. I'm just going to say it. Rogue is in a very, very bad spot. If the meta shifts away from Bard, Wizard, then Rogue automatically gets better. Like, literally the reason this character's so bad is because Wizard and Bard were so OP, and these characters can very easily detect rogues. You can run around throwing out light orbs, which actually you can't do as much now because your Bard isn't restoring them constantly, so you have to chug your potions if you want to do that. So maybe Rogue's like a little bit better, but Bard could also just play his song, which would reveal you, and Rogue's entire thing's based around his stealth, so if you're just getting constantly revealed, you have to constantly run away because they're going to reveal you, then you can't really play your character. So maybe maybe Rogue's in like B tier now. He's a little bit better. I think Warlock still not finished, doesn't count. Fighter's like a bit better. I'd put Fighter like around here with Rogue. It's not balanced. Is Fighter, I mean, I see this is hard though, because I don't even know if Fighter's better than Barb. I think Barb might still be a bit better than Fighter. The only downside to Barb right now is they don't have any good weapons, so it's very hard for them to actually play. Horseman's Axe isn't that good. Viking Sword got buffed a bit. I don't actually know how good it is. I've seen some people messing around with it, so maybe Viking Sword's a bit better. The two-handed weapons are all pretty awful. Felling Axe is bad. Bardiche is like probably the best one. Double Axe sucks. Battle Axe sucks. Those are all awful. So it's hard to say. I mean, personally, I feel like Fighter might have a bit more use than Barbarian. So I'm really going to say Barbarian's down here in C tier. Barbarian requires a lot to make it work. I think it's literally pretty much only playable in this buff ball comp right here, which would be like, you know, it's like, obviously I said it's like S tier. I think it's pretty much only playable in this comp right here, and only with a War Ball. That's like the only, I mean, I actually forgot about the War Ball for trainer weapons. War Ball is like the pretty much only usable weapon they have anymore in buff ball. But without that, I think Barb is literally one of the worst states it's ever been. Bard, I think Bard's still great. I think this character's still fantastic. I almost want to put it in S tier. Almost. I think this character is still very, very good. His buffs are still very, very powerful. Really, the only thing that matters now is that you have to, like, this character's a little bit of downtime. Whereas before, the character had absolutely no downtime. You could run around permanently, healing, spell restoring, buffing, yada yada, doing everything you want. I think this character's amazing. Now, for S tier, honestly, I think Cleric's almost up there. I mean, I think Cleric's, I think Cleric, see, this is hard. Because I actually don't even feel, I still feel like Bard's pretty good, but I don't think he's all the way. I think we're back at that point where, like, during the playtest, where Cleric was just the uncontested best character in the entire game. and it's pretty much like you don't have to have one, but we're getting pretty damn close to it. Cleric is just so oppressive. It provides so much. It has insane damage and Holy Strike, Judgment, and Earthquake. Then obviously insane utility and heals, protection spells, and Earthquake once again and utility. So I think this character is probably the most OP right now. It's definitely at the peak it's ever been. So also, let me just disclaimer. This is factoring in +3 all gear to an extent. Obviously, +3 all gear has been removed from the game, but there's still a lot of it going around. So with +3 all gear, Cleric is significantly better than it would be without it, because it has much more like strength and agi. So I am counting +3 all gear a bit into this. Whenever the +3 all gear is gone, this obviously changes a bit. I mean, honestly, not much. Probably Cleric would just go like right here. Ranger's very OP. Ranger has no reliable counters in the entire game. The only counter Ranger has is Fighter, and Pen Shot makes that not as much of a counter. Wizard, once again, still very OP. Honestly, I don't even know what I'm doing. Wizard's definitely going up here. I don't even know why I'm playing. Wizard's definitely OP. This character's so stupid. Chain Lightning still 2-shots teams. It's everything I said earlier. Fireball Splash still 2-shots everyone. Zap still 2 to 3 shots everyone. The only character that can live against Wizard's Barb. And if your counter is all the way down here at the bottom, yeah, where else are you gonna be, man? You know what I mean? Like Ranger here, Fighter here, with like Barb here. Where's Wizard going? Right up here. This character is just stupidly OP. Really needs to be nerfed. I really hope they stop nerfing their utility spells and start nerfing their damage. It's like I don't think they realize their invis haste wouldn't be as much of an issue as if when they popped out they couldn't instantly one-shot you. So maybe we get some damage nerf soon. Please, Iron Mace, I'm begging. I want to play my class. I would like to exist as a fighter in this meta. You're making it hard. Alright, but with that being said, I think that pretty much sums it up for the tier list. Obviously, there are some comps I didn't go over, and as always, the reason I didn't go over these comps is because, for the most part, they're not that good. Like, any comp that's, like, B tier or below, I'm just not even going to consider. I mean, sure, because, like, obviously, with these characters, I can make so many different combinations. Like, I could do fucking Bard, Warlock, Rogue. Don't play this. Like, why would you do this to yourself? Like, you're just asking to lose, man. It's just not worth it. Just don't do it. So it's like, I'm not going to talk about comps I don't think are good. And if you have some comps that you do think are good, that you think I missed, feel free to comment below. I will tell you what my opinions on them, if they're good, if I think it's good, if I think it's bad. You know, whatever. But, yeah, this has been the patch rundown and the tier list. And let's all hope Wizards get nerfed soon. Peace.